G'day, community. I guess we'll use the podcast intro. I'm Alexi. You probably know me as Lekdog if you're watching this, and you're probably expecting a fantasy footy or a Carlton or a sports content, because that's historically what I'm known for on the internet. But no, I'm here with a hobby video, my first hobby video. It might be my last hobby video. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it is at this stage, but I just felt the urge to record my journey of 2023, show it all to you, if for nothing else to document, to go alongside my Excel doc which tracks all the models I own, so that if I die, my family can at least work out the value and understand everything that I've bought and painted. I should shout out Beard Clipper, a YouTube channel I bloody love. Andrew's an awesome dude, super genuine, super authentic, does a whole range of hobby stuff. He really inspired this. We did a challenge. The people in his community did a challenge for the last couple of months, how many minis we could paint before the end of the year. I got to about 85 for the year. I think he's well over 120 for the year, which is massive, or for that period, which is massive. My total for 2023 models painted was 131. Last year was 102. So as in 2022, so 2023 was my best hobby year. I just felt really inspired to sort of track my journey, to share it with all of you. It's something different. I haven't made a YouTube video like this in sort of 12 years. I pretty much just do live streams now. So we'll see how it goes. I also wanted to shout out JMac, Battle Camper, Quite Cool, Rabtastic, and Battle Streams in Middle-earth, who all do amazing videos, which again really inspired me to try and create some stuff. So let's get into it. We'll go through all the models I painted for 2023. And in another video, hopefully there's enough interest, or hopefully I'm interested enough to do another video. We'll do the planning for 2024 and set some goals, because I think it's quality over quantity, of course, but I would like to get 150 plus for 2024 in terms of models completed. So that's the goal. Let's go to the footage and check out what I did in 2023. All right, well, we start off with the first model. Makes sense to start from the start. We'll probably do this in order of painted models, even though it doesn't totally make sense for the finished product, because I went back to and fro on different armies. But to start, we painted this bad boy, the Mamakill, which I remember receiving, well, how old am I now? 31. Must have received this about 16, 17 years ago for my birthday. It was a massive, awesome present. I kind of half glued it together, spray painted it with too much undercoat, and then kind of never thought about it again. And then I was looking through my box of what to do, and I thought I'll start off 2023 with the most difficult project, arguably the most difficult project in my box. It turned out not to be terribly difficult. As you can see here, it's mostly just a grey dry brush over more grey, but the tusks in particular are something I was really proud of. They probably took the longest time on the model. And then I painted a little Herudrum banner bearer to go with it. It was sort of a test model, knowing eventually I would come back to this piece. And then the base I really like as well. I'm not sure if it's coming across, but the story on the base is really about the flowers. See here, we've got some purple flowers. We've got some pink flowers at the back. That was to tell the story of how the Herudrum dye their clothes. So there was a bit of story there. And the framing for the rest of these should be much easier, because this is the biggest model. Oh, it's the biggest model I've ever painted. But it was Model 1 for the year, Model 1 and 2, and we were off to a hot flying start. Next up was the beginning of my Goblin Town army. Now, I don't really play the game. In fact, I've never played the game, not since I was a kid. But I really wanted to put together a Goblin Town army. I loved the Goblin Town starter box. I always wanted it when I was a kid, but I'd just kind of gotten out of the hobby at that point in time. I saw it for pretty cheap online at the start of the year. I bought it. It was a pretty big way to start in terms of adding to the backlog. But I was really happy with the models, given I've mostly been painting sort of 20-year-old models. There's a few different techniques here that we tried. This one is a bit more of a traditional pale skin, pink undertones, but it just took too long. So in the end, I went with Brushstroke77 on Instagram, put up a guide, a really simple guide, a quick speed paint, some detailing, and I'm really happy with these models. I wasn't sure exactly at the time how I was going to base them. Obviously, you can see now that we went with the wooden Goblin Town base. That's just made out of icy pole sticks, or popsicle sticks if you're watching from America. Really simple, couple of dry brushes, and you're away. Looked really good. These were the test models of what would eventually become 500-ish points of Goblin Town goblins. I stuck to a more regular paint scheme with the following models, but these are the ones that started it all. Then I needed a break. The next model I painted was Gothmog on foot. This is the old metal sculpt. I actually painted this along with Battle Streams in Middle-earth. I suppose that's one of my favorite YouTube channels. They do a live stream going through battle games in Middle-earth. I'm sure if you're watching this, you know who they are. But I was really happy to get this guy out of my backlog. I had painted him as a kid to a pretty poor standard. I'm not very nostalgic for all my paint jobs that I did when I was a kid, so I have actually painted over or stripped pretty much every model I painted as a kid. I know it would have been nice to keep them, but ultimately I want them to look to a standard that I can paint to these days, and that standard is dramatically higher than what it was. So, just followed along with a couple of YouTube tutorials. I've painted some Morannon Orcs in the past, so very similar sort of scheme to that, but was particularly happy. I don't know if it's coming up on camera, but particularly happy with the face I got on this guy, especially when you consider how old this sculpt actually is and that it's made out of metal rather than plastic. Really, really happy with him. The basing is pretty standard for my Morannon Orcs. A bit of texture paste, bit of gravel, and some dead grass tufts. And that is my Gothmog model. After painting Gothmog, which was in one session, I wanted to get back into the Escape from Goblin Town box. The goal was to paint all of Florin's Company by the end of the year. Didn't even get close to that. Got distracted by too many other projects. But again, was really happy with how these came out. Spent a bit more time on them. Used the Tale of the Painters, taleofpainters.com. Used the guides that I found on there as a starting point, and was just really impressed with the detail I could get out of these models, given the size of them. You can see they're smaller than my sort of thumb nail. Balin and Bilbo, similar colours, so was able to sort of do them alongside each other. Again, based in the Goblin Town base. Originally was undecided if I was going to do that. I figured, hey, I'm probably never going to play these. I may as well set them up to be in a matching diorama. So, I'm not sure if the detail comes across. There's some photos on my Instagram, but the detail in the faces on these are pretty good given the size. I managed to get some age lines, but was really happy to get those out of the backlog, even though I'd only recently added them into the backlog. Next up, it was something I hadn't painted in ages, and that was some Star Wars Legion. I went and painted the Clone Troopers speeder bike. I think it's an ARC bike. Was pretty happy with it. Didn't spend a heap of time on it. Part of this backlog project is, unless I am in love with the model, I don't want to spend heaps of time on it. But this was the second last model I had left out of the Star Wars Legion Clone Wars starter box, which I had never got around to finishing. I also painted all of the sort of fences and accessories and stuff. They're not going to be this video. They're boring. No one cares about them. But was happy with this. But while I was at it, I also painted General Grievous. And I think he came out really nicely. I put the wrong base on him. My droids are all based with Naboo bases. I was distracted just trying to get this guy finished. I put the Geonosis base on him, but that is okay. He doesn't have to match. He's never going to get played. Tried to do a bit of both worlds, having the forearms with lightsabers, the cloak. I'm still not very good at sort of cloaks and materia. I just don't seem to spend the time required. But he was done. That completed one whole box. It's the second starter box from start to finish I've ever completed. The year before, 2022, I did a Song of Ice and Fire box. Loved that. I've got 2 completed boxes. Hopefully by the end of this year, we have 3 by completing the Escape from Goblin Town. At this point in time, I don't know when this was. I had it. Most of my models were painted in the last quarter of this year, to be honest with you. About 85 of 130 odd were painted in the last quarter during the Beard Clipper Challenge, which was just an awesome thing to be a part of. So I think this was before I went on hiatus, so this is probably still first half of the year, but I painted Gandalf the Grey in Escape from Goblin Town. I'm not sure how to best capture him on camera, but I think this is the best model I have actually ever painted. The transitions are smooth in the cloak. I know I just said in the last clip I'm bad at it. This is one I spent a lot of time trying to really get right. I think it came across. I did a lot of recess shading, which I never really do. This one took a long time to finish, but again, was really happy with the result. This is where the Escape from Goblin Town Thorin's company came to a close this year. I undercoated, did faces on a few models, but just never got around to finishing them. It's not the end of Goblin Town, though, because I painted a shitload of goblins. So these are the models that I picked up next. I painted them pretty quickly after I purchased them. Not soon enough for Hobby Bingo. Didn't paint them in the first 24 hours, but definitely started them straight away. I think they look friggin' amazing, and that's largely due to the sculpt rather than my skill. A lot of dry brushing and recess shading, and that was really all that's required. The bases are relatively nice. I like the clear flight sounds. I know a lot of people don't. That was the first one. Obviously, at the same time, I was painting the second one, which I think looks like Gwahir. I know it's not Gwahir, but I think it looks enough like Gwahir to pass if you needed it to. I'd love to, there's a bit of white here, I don't know if you could see that. The Ard coat I was using at the time to seal stuff, or maybe it was the thinner, the medium, ended up leaving white spots on the models. I couldn't get them all off. Anyway, so that's disappointing. Given how quick it took me to paint these, I'd love to do a full army. They're just an expensive model to purchase, and again, I don't play, so I don't know what the point is. I don't know what the point of anything is, really. We'll all be dead soon, so it doesn't matter as long as we have fun. But I'd love to paint up a full list of these bad boys. So this is the reason that I never finished my Goblin Town project. Not sure if they're in focus. I will be zooming in. This is the reason. I played Blood Bowl for the first time with a friend in the middle of the year. On the table, played the video game a lot. Love it. Super fun. Played on the table for the first time. Immediately went home. Immediately purchased this army, or this team, and immediately got to work painting it. So we'll go through sort of in order of how I painted, because I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to do these. I knew I wanted to have a bright contrasting sort of colours. I'd never really painted in a bright style. I tend to go to more muted tones when painting Lord of the Rings or Middle-earth minis. But I knew I wanted to do something bright. I knew I wanted to be a little bit different. Having said that, I posted this on the subreddit and a bunch of people had painted very similar. It turns out this is the, I want to say Miami Dolphins color schemes. I was sort of looking at old school Memphis Grizzlies when I was doing it. Turns out it's a pretty common color scheme for sports teams. I did magnetize the balls, so that's probably the coolest thing I did with them. It's not the coolest, but it is a cool thing that I did with them. These are the zombie ghoul runners. I think that's what they're called. These were the first models I painted. I spent a lot of time on these, trying to get these transitions here in the skin, and tried to get some solid natural shading, natural for a dead sort of monster. I did use the decals to put numbers on. I tried to freehand, couldn't do it. The basic's just a pretty simple crackling base. Obviously it flakes off where the magnets hit with some dead grass. Love my dead grass. And the blood, after I hit it with a matte spray, the blood lost a lot of its shine, but I think that actually works to its favor. I think that makes it look like old blood rather than new blood. So they were the first two that I painted. Then we painted these guys, and there's a really subtle, it's easier to see in person, there's a really subtle green hue in the shadows here, and I did that because I didn't want people to know if it's a sheet draped over something or if the ghost is the sheet. I just wanted it to look a bit supernatural, so that's what I went for. And they were not difficult to paint, but hard to get the right balance in terms of that blue shadow that I wanted. The socks I painted in the team colors to keep the theme going. Then it was on to the wolves, which I bloody love. These are the reasons I ended up painting wargs later on in the year. I thought, I loved painting the wolves. I'll paint some more. That was not the same experience. I hated that. I loved this. I think the dry blood on the fur around the mouths is probably the highlight for me. But again, just really solid models. And these are the first models that didn't come out in 2006, basically, that I've been painting as long as I can remember. So I was really impressed with how well they sort of painted up, how solid they looked, and how clean the sculpts and the details were. Again, these are your main infantry or your main linemen, your zombie linemen. They're beautiful. Again, I'm not saying that I made them beautiful. I'm saying that the sculpts are beautiful. And then these are probably the more interesting sort of sculpts. We've got the sack head in the middle there. We've got the pumpkin head with a bit of glow. I overdid the glow in the eyes, and it ended up losing some depth in the eyes. I filled it with too much paint, and it probably took away from it. But broadly, really, really happy with these. I've played with them since I painted them, just the one game. Got my first draw, which was nice. Haven't had a win yet. These were my two favourite models to paint for the entire year. These sculpts are amazing. I've got different hues depending on the different skin. I don't know if you can see there, but he's actually got blue hues through his face, flesh hues through his body, and then sort of greeny hues through the feet here. Really enjoyed painting these. These were a pleasure. Muscle, not normally something I love painting, but I feel like I got by taking the time, I got the right step-ups in highlights, and was able to keep them visually interesting. It's almost stylized, the color scheme on this team, the way that I've painted them, and I really enjoyed it. Even small things like adding the line to make it look like the blood vial in the head is shiny. Huge fan of these models. And then the less interesting, obviously painted all the balls and the tokens and the coins and stuff, but who cares about that? All right, well, I've screwed up the order here at some point, but it doesn't really matter. I knew I was going to be spending a lot of time on and off throughout the year. I was painting sort of a few goblins from Goblin Town here and a few goblins from Goblin Town there. But interspersed amongst them was a few other small projects. So this is a Glorfindel model. You can see I snapped this sword there. But this, I was bored one day and I thought I couldn't decide what to paint. So I spun a wheel of all my models. I catalogued them all. There's thousands of them. It's ridiculous. It spat out Glorfindel. I thought, okay, I'll have a look at him. I don't really know how to paint him. I don't have any elves. I'm probably not going to have any elves anytime soon. So I spun a color wheel generator, and it spat out purple, yellow, red, and this sort of blue-grey. So it was able to put together, I think, given the experiment and given the age of the model and the fact that I'm not particularly interested in painting elves, I think he came out really nicely. Then one morning, I was bored, or I think I dreamt about Kroot. I do have a 40k army from back in the day. It's not something I paint. It's not something I'm interested in painting. But I woke up and I thought I'm going to paint some Kroot hounds. I think they'll be an easy, fun little model, a little bit of change. And you can see, like, they look fine. They look fine. I got bored about 6 minutes into painting them. But we did them. They're to a tabletop standard. A little bit of conversion. That hand is a Gene Stiller hand because this model lost its hand at some point. They're done. They go in. That's another 3 models out of the backlog. We can't be upset about that. Next up was just 9 more Morannon Orc. I sort of go back to these whenever I've got a bit of a break, something I want to paint pretty quickly. I do have the Pelennor Field starter set. Eventually I'm going to finish that off. As a part of that, there's Morannon Orcs. I've painted about 18 of them. I think there's maybe another 9 in that box starter set. Jay Lenorc here, which is just the ugliest model, I think, in MESBG. Look at that ugly mofo. But again, that's just another quick paint job. They're not supposed to be show winners. They're not supposed to be painting competition models. They are decent tabletop quality models that when you put amongst the army of, by the end of it, 50-odd orcs with Gothmog, I think they'll look really solid. Now, this was a really, really interesting project. 2 of these are sculpted by me. Well, by me. I used blue stuff, millipart green stuff to clone the Pelennor Fields Mordor Troll, because it comes with 6 arms, 3 heads, accessories. The only thing they don't give you is the bodies, which I think is a bit silly. So I did my best to clone it. Now, this one here, he is the legit one. You can see a very clean sculpt, very thin. You'll see why I say thin when I compare him to the others. Based him up quite nicely, bit of sand, a bit of texture paste, a bit of amount. I was really happy with. I painted a few trolls now, couple of cave trolls, 3 Mordor trolls. Really happy with him. But I thought I may as well have a crack at cloning him. So we'll bring this guy. This guy's done up as I guess he's an Isengard orc in the armor, but I mean, for all intents and purposes, he's going into the Mordor army with the Morannon Orcs and whatnot. Doesn't really matter. So his body is sculpted. You'll be able to see it when I turn him to the side. You can sort of see this guy's legs are fine, but the back is sort of inverted. This was my 3rd or 4th attempt. I wasn't going to keep spending time on it. I didn't think ultimately it mattered. You're going to be looking at him from the front for the most part. You can see there some thickness in the legs. I just didn't really know. How to sculpt, to be honest, or how to properly use blue stuff. I think I did okay. I think they were pretty big parts to try and start on and do it that way. But I'm really happy with the result on this guy. And again, when they're back in an army, you just can't tell. And then the drummer. I almost made the drummer using just the correct official parts, but I think this guy looks cooler. But I just love the drummer model. I love the head. I love the little arms. So his body's, again, cloned. They weigh a bit more. You'll see here, he's quite thick through the legs. It's not super smooth. But this body, much better. So sculpted that on the loincloth. Again, I think it looks fine. I think the paint job, it's not amazing because of the details, obviously, are not as defined as on the official model, but when you put them all next to each other, I think they look friggin' awesome. Then you chuck a couple of trolls, a couple of orcs in front of them, and you got yourself an army. Well, collectively, this is the most impressive project of the year. This is the Goblin Town army. They probably took the longest in terms of just how many there are. The amount of time it takes to actually paint them is relatively small. Basing them takes a fair chunk of time just because of the nature of carving and cutting and painting and drying and waiting for glue to dry. They are a bit precarious on their bases in terms of their attachment to the bases. I literally just snapped one off and I've glued my finger together, trying to put it back on. But ultimately, I'm really, 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 really happy with how they've come out. I think there's, including the test models, I think there's about 60 goblins here, which apparently isn't even enough for a decent army. So that's a bit of fun. The basing, the terrain, I think looks great. I think even the tomb here, I'll move that out into the light in a second. I think, not the tomb, the throne, I think looks pretty brilliant. It's not too complicated, but I painted a little bit of fire, hot fiery coals for the king's butt down there. Models like the scribe, who, let's see if we can't get in there on the scribe. The scribe again with a little bit of coals under it. I think that's probably the smallest model I have, so I think it looks solid for that. The king is the best detailed one of the bunch in terms of time taken and painting. Again, wasn't terribly complicated. I just think the shadows are a lot starker and more contrasting on him, which I think adds to his intensity. There's a couple of sort of captains, Grinner, and I think this might be Grinner, I can't remember. But all in all, these 60 odd models are what took up a massive chunk of this year's hobby time. Alright, I thought these would be my last project for the year. I thought I'd do some quick dry brushing. I loved doing the werewolves for the Blood Bowl team. I thought that this would be my final project for the Beard Clipper Challenge. Shout out to Beard Clipper once again. Make sure you do follow him and subscribe. Super genuine dude, super nice dude, Andrew. Got all the time in the world if you want to email him, bug him like I have been. Just an awesome dude. Really authentic in how he does his videos, and he's really talented in terrain particularly, but he's also smashing out guitar videos and painting videos, and he's got an amazing house as well and a model railway. He just does it all. Anyway, Beard Clipper, go and follow him. I thought this would be my last project because I thought it'd be easy. And they were easy, but I hated painting these. I got in trouble on Reddit. Everyone's been yelling at me because I said these are awful sculpts. I hated these sculpts when I got them lit as a 10-year-old or however old I was. I hated them then. I undercoated them with too much paint, and I hated them ever since. But I thought I would get to them and give them a crack. And I'm not saying that they... I think I painted them quite well, given the circumstances. I think there's a decent contrast in the depths of the fur. I think the flesh, particularly on the white wargs, it's probably a bit too bright, the lighting here, to show it off. But I think they've come out all right. I just went some base-ready materials, just rocks and grass and tufts, and they're fine. They came out perfectly fine. I just hate the models. I hate them. I always have. I thought I was done for the year with the wargs. And then I thought, well, I started the year with a Momokill. It'd be rude not to give him a few riders to bulk him out. I'd been sitting Moria Goblin Archers on him. Didn't look right. I thought, I'll do a couple of quick models. And individually, each model I probably spent an hour on. I'm a pretty slow painter. I churn out a fair few models, but I paint slowly. So it might have even been 2 hours on each model, which is too much. That's probably an overestimate. Anyway, I spent a fair bit of time on them. Contrast paints with highlights over the top. The purple contrast, Luxian purple, I was really unhappy with. So I tried to dye it down a few times with some Druchii Violet, whatever it's called. I think it worked. Again, telling the story of how they dye their clothes with the flowers on the bases. I think given the lack of detail on some of these models, so this guy's face looks great, but his hand sort of just exists in no particular details. Like, it kind of just disappears, so you kind of got to guess. But other than that, I think they look top-notch on the Mummakill. The Mummakill, or the Mummak, is the focal point of this project. These guys are just ancillary to that. They're there to beef it out. And I think it looks really good. And eventually I'll get around to painting the rest of my spearmen and my footmen and whatever. It won't be anytime soon. But again, stoked with how they've ended up. Really glad that I've been able to put some bodies on the Mummakill. And I think I technically have enough now that you could play a 500-point game with the Mummak. I think you'd get smashed, but I think I can technically field an army for Haradrim now, which is cool. Again, not that I'm playing the game. But I had one more model in me. With 2 days to go left in the year, I knew the Beard Clipper Challenge was happening. It was all about it. I painted this original Fellowship Aragorn. It's my one from when I was a kid, which I've painted over a couple of times as a kid. He might be. I know I said Gandalf was probably the best model I've ever painted. Aragorn's in contention for that. And the goal, it was kind of decided by painting him. One, he can go into an Army of the Dead army, which I have. I've got an Army of the Dead set painted from the Pelennor Fields box. You can put the 3 hunters in. That's an army. Again, probably not playing, but it's how I sort of justify who I paint. More importantly, it's the beginning of my Balin's Tomb scenery display. So at some stage this year, I'm going to have all of the Fellowship painted. That's the goal, to have all of the Fellowship painted, based in my Moria basing, which is what you can see there. And then have them on the collector's Balan Tomb magazine stand thing. What I love about this Aragorn, he's exactly how I pictured my painting of Aragorn when I did him as a kid, except he actually looks like how I wanted him to look like. So high contrast points on the green, some recessed shadows, which are nice. But I'm really happy with his face. So let's see if we can... I think that's a brilliant face. Now, if I was going to get picky, the left eye pupil / white of his eye is bigger than the right. My girlfriend or my partner has problems with him not having eyebrows, but I think the classic method for painting these Middle-earth models is not to paint the eyebrows. I just think he's turned out brilliantly. He's got his ring painted there. I'm so impressed. I'm so happy to have him finally painted. Well, there it was, everyone. They looked pretty good on the table. 131 models is pretty impressive to me. And I think they're all of a relatively high quality. Most of them are of a relatively high quality. Some of them are the best models I've ever painted, which is really exciting. So thank you for watching. If you've stuck around this long, again, shout out to Beard Clipper, who's the main inspiration for this, but all the channels I mentioned at the start, there's a million more I watch that I'm active in the comments, but I've never been active in terms of creating my own content. We're going to give it a go. We're having a crack. I said I was going to do this last year. It's January 1st, 2024 right now. I didn't do a thing in 2023 in terms of ticking that off the goals, but here we are today. So hope you enjoyed, and I guess I'll see you next time? ?